Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, the Prime Minister's grim address to the World Health Assembly. This as a Bahamian woman is appointed president. Exuma residents not too happy about being kept closed.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Kyle Joachim. Topping news tonight, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis painted a grim picture of the country's economy as he delivered an address at the World Health Assembly's virtual meeting this morning. Dr. Minnis told a global audience that the COVID-19 pandemic has destroyed the Bahamian economy and the country faces a dire fiscal situation. This as he asked for help in the fight against COVID-19. With more on this, here's Jasmine Brown.
The Prime Minister was one of several global leaders to take center stage today, where he focused not only on COVID-19, but also on Hurricane Dorian.
The Bahamas wishes to bring to your attention the health challenges we continue to overcome and the dire economic situation that is upon us as a primarily tourism-based economy.
The Prime Minister made the comments at the World Health Assembly on Monday morning. The WHO is the decision-making body of the World Health Organization. He pointed out that at least 50% of the Bahamas' GDP is derived from tourism, which employs up to 60% of the working population. Dr. Minnis said the pandemic, which came on the heels of Hurricane Dorian, only adds to the economic woes already faced by the Bahamas.
Last September, we experienced Hurricane Dorian, one of the most powerful hurricanes in the Atlantic in recorded history, which ravaged our second and third most populous islands and economic centers. Now, COVID-19 has closed our borders and destroyed our tourism-dependent economy. Economic recovery is halted even as we prepare for the impending hurricane season in our region, which begins on June 1st and extends to November 30th.
The Prime Minister added that twin unprecedented events of Hurricane Dorian and the COVID-19 pandemic are not just a threat to the economy. He insisted both events also threaten to destabilize the healthcare system.
These two seismic events threaten to widen inequalities and increase the burden of non-communicable disease.
Minnis pleaded with the international community to reconsider the metrics it uses to determine which countries receive aid, as he also asked for help.
As we request assistance to address COVID-19 in the Bahamas and in other small island states, we urge the international community to adopt and to appreciate a broader understanding of the developmental levels and the unique local circumstances in our states.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Disrespected is how many Exuma residents feel tonight after that island was left off the Prime Minister's list of family islands allowed to resume commercial activity. That list includes Cat Island, Long Island, and the Abacos. Residents say with no confirmed cases, it feels like punishment. Their Member of Parliament, Chester Cooper, questioned the Prime Minister's logic as the competent authority.
Give us the courtesy of sharing with us the reasoning behind the decision.
Exuma Chamber of Commerce President Pedro Roll says the residents of that island deserve an explanation. He said with no confirmed cases of COVID-19 on Exuma, the numbers don't match the Prime Minister's reasoning of keeping business activity on the island at a halt.
I think it's disrespectful. So if there are certain protocols that we are not meeting, or if there are things that we need to do before we get to the point where we can be open, I think that that ought to be communicated to us. It's not a difficult thing. It's just a matter of communication.
Alfred Roll is a contractor on an Exuma Key and said he hasn't been able to get subcontractors in to do work like plumbing and tiling. He said with no cases, the restriction feels like punishment.
There isn't any cases within the keys. We can't travel to another key. We can't allow anyone from any of the other keys to come in. So we feel like we're being punished because we can't, interact with anyone. We would keep our distance, but the point being is we haven't no cases. We're being here locked down for 2 months.
Rhodes said life on the Exuma Keys has always been good, but now that there is no money coming in, this is the roughest it's been in a while. Eleuthera and Exuma have been known as hubs for economic activity in the central Bahamas. Exuma's and Ragged Island MP Chester Cooper says the Prime Minister's rationale begs to question whether he's just posturing at this point and doesn't really have a reason for keeping those residents under curfew.
There is a question as to whether he is deliberately being unfair to the island of Exuma and to the people of Exuma. And unless he explains otherwise, then we have no reason to stick with the view that the Prime Minister is being a bit overzealous and enjoying the power of the competent authority.
Cooper said he's not asking for borders to open up as yet, but just for residents to be allowed to resume work and get on with their daily lives and do simple things like go to the beach. He added the Prime Minister has only made things worse by not making himself available to answer questions from the press, only giving national addresses despite serving as the temporary Minister of Health.
I think it's an affront to democracy. It's an insult to the Bahamian people generally, and certainly the Prime Minister ought to take an account of himself and acknowledge that he has been granted powers to suppress the virus under the emergency orders, and the emergency orders did not make him king. So he must still account to the Bahamian people. He must answer questions of the press. He must protect democracy. He must be transparent.
Meanwhile, over on Andros, residents are relieved that commercial activity has resumed on that island.
This is serious, y'all. A video. I ain't catching no crab. I ain't catching video.
Well, the Prime Minister's announcement, coupled with rainy conditions, means crabs are walking and money will be back in the pockets of those who rely on catching crabs to provide for their families.
It's a very good thing that the Prime Minister has opened up Andros so that the natives can go crabbing, because that is one of the financial aspects and avenues of Andros people.
Police on Eleuthera have arrested 12 males and 1 female accused of breaking the COVID-19 curfew. The suspects are expected to be charged in the magistrate's court. It comes one day after the Prime Minister expressed disappointment in some Eleuthera residents whom he says have participated in a motorcade on the island Friday night. Well, the Prime Minister's announcement that commercial air travel could resume on July 1st was met with mixed reactions from Bahamians. Jasmine Brown reports.
The reactions of those residents came a day after the Prime Minister gave a timeline for the resumption of commercial flights in and out of the Bahamas. During his televised national address on Sunday evening, Dr. Minnis revealed that the government is looking to open commercial travel on or before July 1st. He added that the date is not final and will be adjusted if there is a deterioration of COVID-19 trends.
Any such reopening to commercial scale traffic will also be dependent on the ongoing stabilization of the COVID-19 outbreak in the Bahamas.
The Bahamian borders were closed on March 27th, signaling a dramatic halt to the nation's tourism industry. A week earlier, Minister of Tourism Dionisio de Aguilar warned that in the foreseeable future there will be no tourists. Given the blow to the economy, some residents say they fully support the resumption of commercial flights in July.
I think we need to consider opening the country and bringing the tourists back so that we can rebuild our economy.
I trust the Lord. I trust the Lord that the Lord didn't put things in jail for us to be afraid. He tell us to go ahead. God ain't ever telling you to go back. The Lord is telling you to go ahead. So I with the Prime Minister with that.
Others disagreed, saying it's simply too risky and they would choose not to travel during these uncertain times.
I want to be on the very safe.
Not right now, because it may cause I think it will be a health hazard. They need to make sure this virus is clear first before they do anything else.
Then there were those who insisted it's too soon to say whether the date given by the PM is a good or bad idea.
It's too soon to say. I feel it's too soon to say. There's a lot about COVID-19 a lot of people don't know. You know, I watch the foreign news and a lot of new stuff I see. So, I know.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Bahamian Ambassador Designate Kevin Bain was elected to serve as president of the 73rd World Health Assembly this morning.
This presidency has great meaning for the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and indeed the Caribbean community and diaspora. I would like to take this opportunity to personally thank the government and people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for the confidence they have shown in selecting me to serve in this post at such an historic time. It is indeed an honor and privilege.
Bain will head two-day WHA meetings which operate annually in Geneva, Switzerland. The WHA is the decision-making body of the World Health Organization. This year's meeting comes as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to wreak havoc globally.
This era of COVID-19 ushers in new technology. It requires new knowledge, new innovations, flexibility, meaningful, respectful country interactions, as well as new and greater global partnerships. The role of the World Health Organization in this time of crisis reminds us that we live in an interdependent and interconnected world.
Still to come, Hurricane Dorian victims will finally be laid to rest. Stay tuned. Eight months after Hurricane Dorian devastated Abaco and parts of Grand Bahama, a service of remembrance will be held for victims of the Category 5 storm on Friday morning. The service and burial led by the Bahamas Christian Council and the Abaco Christian Council will take place at the public cemetery of SC Boodle Highway in Central Pines, Abaco. The death toll from Hurricane Dorian stands at 74. 63 bodies were recovered on Abaco and 11 bodies were recovered on Grand Bahama. However, countless others remain missing since the monster storm's passage. Well, a passionate ice cream driver is desperate to get back on the streets after the pandemic saw his business melt away. Jared Higgs has his story.
It's a familiar sound that sends all the kids running. But since the pandemic, 36-year-old ice cream man Nikito Green has seen the way of life he depends on melt away.
I'm more in between a rock and a hard place.
Green, who describes himself as a well-known ice cream man, was leasing an ice cream truck before the pandemic and was saving money to buy his own. But when the economy closed, his truck was taken by its owner.
He took it back to go and try and make some money for himself. I can't blame him for that.
Green says now he doesn't know how he will support his family.
I am a giver, so this right now I ain't used to this at all, having to actually ask for help.
The 36-year-old is in the ice cream business with his fiancée, 38-year-old Janine Wims. She used to teach primary school, but she quit that job for the flexibility of selling frozen treats.
I feel sorry about that because I love the school, I love the children and everything, but it wasn't my heart's place My heart places with him in the ice cream business.
The couple admit that they have struggled since before the pandemic. They have 6 kids between them, but 4 of them have been living with other family members since January. That's when they were evicted from their previous apartment due to an unpaid deposit.
A family member helped us out, kept us for a month, and then we had to come someplace else.
That someplace else is a small 2-room dwelling in Gambier. It was meant to be temporary, but now they're facing eviction again. It's a familiar story as tens of thousands are left without jobs, many relying on government and other aid to put food on the table. Wim says staying in touch with her children is difficult.
As one can tell, it is a luxury to have minutes and to have data.
Green and Wims get by with the help of family and neighbors, but without the ice cream business, they have no income. Green says his past work was in landscaping, but he transitioned to ice cream because it offered him a more clear path to owning his own business. But with the couple all in on ice cream, they find themselves desperate.
I could use help. I could use food. I could use anything, what anyone willing to help me with, but I can be real with you. The main thing I want is to go back to work.
The struggling couple say the next step for them is to try and find a new place. They hope if they can do that, then they can get their family back together. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
All right, thanks, Jared. Still to come, businesses excited about extended hours of operation. Stay tuned. You're watching Our News. Welcome back. Weeks ahead of the start of the 2020 hurricane season, hardware and home stores have been granted additional hours of operation. The announcement has been received well by business owners and their customers. Berthy McDermott reports.
Hardware and home store owners couldn't be happier with government's decision to extend their hours of operations ahead of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. Co-owner of Quality Home Center Trevor Davis and manager of e-commerce and online sales at CBS Bahamas, Brent Burrows, say the extended hours will enable them to bring in more employees.
We had everybody on days and we tried to balance, so because we realized is when it rains on everybody's roof, so everybody have to get shared time, and so that's what we're doing. So with the extra hours, it gives a little more time to add extra people to the schedule.
What's good for us is now with the job sites and construction sites open, all of our install and service team, they're going to start gearing up to go back up on the road and work on the job sites and do the various projects. And then if we go back to 2 shifts in the retail store, the 8 to 8, that'll be a majority of the staff right there. So I can't put an exact number on it right now. They're still trying to figure out the scheduling and everything, but I will say it's close to the majority.
CBS Bahamas has about 80 employees, while Quality Home Center employs more than 85 people. Those stores are now allowed to operate on Mondays from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to facilitate hurricane preparedness. This is in addition to the current Wednesday and Friday in-store hours. Both businesses say they are well stocked on hurricane supplies.
We already had a lot of requests for the life jackets, the first aid kits, and we carry a large selection of generators, so it gives us an opportunity to make sure that persons could get what they need in adequate time.
Because the Prime Minister did not make the announcement until Sunday afternoon, CBS Bahamas was not able to take advantage of the additional hours because the store needed more time to prepare. However, David says Quality Home Center took full advantage of the 12 hours today.
Yes, we were able to adjust the schedule right after we listened to the PM speech yesterday afternoon.
Today we're only open until 6, I believe, 8 to 6. It was a little bit last minute last night, finding out at 5 o'clock that we were allowed to open. So we had to put together a schedule and everything. And, for the first day, we just went with one shift. But the plan, I think, for Wednesday and Friday is to take advantage of the full 12 hours.
Residents we spoke to lauded government's decisions to extend hours for stores like these. They say it gives them more time to pick up essential items.
Everything is in its time frame, and I think the time frame where they put everything in a certain pattern to keep things right. I think this is a good thing.
It's a great idea. We're moving slowly but surely in the right direction.
You can feel relaxed while you're shopping and it give you more time. So it's good.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
All right, thanks, Berthany. Still to come, a Bahamian athlete headed to the Hall of Fame. Stay tuned. Finally in news tonight, a Bahamian college basketball player finding himself in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Marcellus Hall reports.
Well, when you mention the Hall of Fame and Bahamian in one sentence, it's usually a good thing. No different here. Young Grand Bahamian Nathan Bain had his number called. He's having his jersey and his tennis shoes sent to Naismith. Tell you more as we spoke to the young man about his accomplishments.
I was like, wow. Like, I was shocked for a while, because I was just like thinking like, Coach, you gotta be playing with me, because I haven't done nothing in college, to be warranted to have my jersey set in the Hall of Fame. I feel like it's pretty average college career, but he was just telling me that the magnitude of that layup, it was heard around the world, So he's like, the Hall of Fame, they wanna remember this moment. The most I thought about was that the GoFundMe would take off, which it did. And I was happy with what happened after that game. With the GoFundMe. We went up to Duke. We did what people thought we couldn't do, and that was pretty much the end of that goal for us in that moment. Go up there, win the game, make history, come back and finish the season strong. And I would have never thought that it would have steamrolled into something else. Until
with the way things ended, so I guess unceremoniously. With COVID-19, are there any disappointments for you in that regard? I mean, the way the season ended, obviously not having a chance to go to the tournament and everything else.
Yeah, especially for the seniors, it was really disappointing for me and the two other seniors, because we set out goals early in the season. Before it started, we wanted to be the first team in SFA history, to go to the Sweet 16 and beyond. And how we was feeling going into our conference tournament. We were supremely confident in, achieving that goal. We was like, man, I don't think anybody could beat us. But, the circumstances are what they are. And, we got cut short, bittersweet ending. We ended on top, but, it was still, you always want to go out inside the big dance,
What's the next course of action for you now moving forward, this being your senior year?
After, talking to my dad a lot and, some of my coaches, I was thinking, just being done with basketball for a while, but, I've been talking to a lot of agents, they said, it's going to be a big market for teams when COVID-19 passes over, and it's like, from this past season, teams going to look at your accomplishments, as a player, and there's like, that could put you in a position, to play for, to play to better yourself for the future. So I was thinking, just probably thinking about going overseas, just talking to a bunch of agents.
So congratulations once again to Nathan Bain on a major accomplishment. Looking to see great things from that young man as his basketball future continues. More to come. I'm Marcellus Hall for our news.
Thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Kyle Joaquin. Remember, you can catch Our News on the go with the RevGo Play app. Have a good Monday evening, Thomas.